All right, so I'll just check my mic and everything and make sure that we are live or not. So just give me a thumbs up if I'm live, because the YouTube live always comes with a 30-second delay. It comes as a freebie. So yes, just give me a thumbs up if I'm live. Yeah, I think I'm live. So I'm safe to say good afternoon to everyone. So this is me, Sandeep. If you weren't there on yesterday's session, well, yeah, my name is Sandeep, and I am a front-end developer as well as an instructor at AttainU. And our job is to just create software developers within 7 months. So this initiative was taken from our side to make sure that you guys are using your lockdown in a informative and a benefitable manner. So yesterday's session was about introduction for JavaScript, and today's is all going to be just having basic syntaxes and printing variables and how to get the variables and what are all the different types of variables, right? So that is for today. And just give me a raise hands if you were on yesterday's session so that I can know that if you I'll see based on the viewers. I'll just give you a recap. No, mind. I'll just give a recap. So yesterday we were seeing about history of JavaScript, how JavaScript was born, and what were all the changes it went through, and what is the current version of JavaScript, and what are all the future that is going to be for JavaScript as well. So it was a pretty theoretical session. I know many of you would have yawned and become bored out of it because your hands would have been ready to code. I was literally putting you handcuffed. I can feel that. So today is all about coding, right? So we'll just start writing a code. Obviously, you would have known what is this particular application. It's VS Code. If you aren't known of that particular, just give me 1 second. I'll redirect my screen share to Google Chrome so that I'll show you where to download it. All right. So let me share. And if you could give me 1 single second, I'll just share my desktop on display number 2. Desktop number 2. Yes, I am on it. Share. So you could pretty much see my YouTube and everything. So how is VS Code downloaded? Is basically you go to Visual Studio Code, and if you press enter, all you can see is the first link, which is VS Code code editing redefined. Go there, and it automatically will recognize based on your operating system. I guess most of you will use Windows, so obviously it is available for Windows as well. It is available for Mac as well as for Linux. So go there, download it. I mean, you can do it right now as well. And this is going to be our editor for the next 10 days. We are going to use this because this is pretty much super useful for web developers like us. It has all the bells and whistles. Like you have extensions for every single language. You have themes, which will be suiting up to your preference. You have many plugins that will aid your database connectivities and everything. So that could be pretty well. And speaking of that, let me come back to my sharing. I'll just stop my share and come back to VS Code. So that was a pretty self-introduction for VS Code itself. So today, as I told you, we are going to start with printing out all this JS and everything. All right, so you could give me 1 single second. I'll make sure that everything is done. Okay. Yeah. So you could see, usually we will follow this layout for the next 10 days. I also follow the same layout for my students as well. I have a screen for my Visual Studio Code. I have a browser window to write and draw something which is conceptually, which will make you conceptually clear, and as well as a Google Chrome window to show you the output of that particular application, because JavaScript cannot be shown in server side until now. Which is based on our concept, right? So until now, we won't be seeing anything on server side. We'll be seeing on client side. So for that, we'll obviously need a browser. So to make sure the JavaScript is working or not. All right, enough of all the introductions. So this is going to be our notepad. And as you could have, for yesterday's members, I think this would be pretty familiar. For today's new members, hi there. So this is going to be our whiteboard where I will write some of the things which will help you to understand if I draw it in a pictorial manner, right? I hope that. So yeah. So our first thing for today is going to be, one second. Pencil, yeah. So the first topic is going to be about how do we get and send the data. That is with the help of input and output. Right? So this is our first thing. Pardon me if my handwriting is like brinjals, banging. I'll try to write as eligible as possible. Just give me a thumbs up if you are feeling this handwriting is eligible or not. If not, I'll try to write in a neat manner. So the next thing is all about variables for today, because I hope that will be pretty much comfortable for you to take off, because I won't be cramming much topics in a single hour. That won't be possible and it will not be understandable as well. So let me take it in a slower fashion, right? So the types of variables are going to be described. So they are like integer, right? So for the scribble, it's going to be a string. Again, we will discuss all these things. Do not worry. We will see arrays and objects. If possible, I'll cover in detail about objects. Right? If not, I'll try to cover as much as possible. Fine. So with that, let me just visit the comments to make sure that the climate is going well and the atmosphere is perfect. Right? So. I had attended this session. I saw the recording. I had attended this session. I've also seen. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Atul. Shubham, start the class. Yeah, I have started it. This is a pre-recorded session. Shubham Sinha, hi. I have just proved you that this is not a pre-recorded session. I was not there for yesterday's session. Not much important topics have been covered. You can just visit the recording. I'll be having a we'll be having a playlist in our channel, I think. If you go to the playlist, you will see all the parts which were covered. So yesterday was just a theoretical session. All right, so I think everything is wired up good. Let's start with the coding actually. But just give me 1 second. There is an issue in my display actually. So I will cover it and it will have a perfect, we'll have a takeoff. We'll have a good takeoff. So, arrangement. All right, everything is now perfect. Actually, what happened is that I was keeping my monitor on my left side yesterday. So I had to tweak my arrangement so that my monitor is now on the right side. That's why, pardon me for that interruption. So with that said, I think we can pretty much be enough to go. So let me just create a new window and keep it as my new window, right? So this is going to be our output, all right? Whatever we are going to see is going to be present here. And this is going to be our code editor. And this is going to be the notes, right? Farewell. So I'm just, if you aren't familiar with HTML and CSS, you don't have to worry about it, because we are not going to go that much deep on HTML, CSS, to be very frank. So, however, I will teach some topics if it is required to make sure that you are understanding the concept of JavaScript itself. I think during DOM section, we'll be needing to learn that actually. Okay, so let me just create a package here. Usually what I will do for my students is that I'll create a folder and I will mention every single files on each folder. So I'll do the same for you people as well. So let me create a new folder called day 2, right? To make sure that everything is organized, because organization is pretty much important in life. That's it. So let me create 2 files. One is the HTML, all right? And another one is the JavaScript. That is, I'm just going to have it as app.js. So every single time, JavaScript will not work individually. That is one thing you need to take care of. You need to have some sort of output to make sure that it is working. To have an output inclined to it, we need to have a HTML file. Because without HTML file, we can render it to the browser. Without rendering, how can we show the output? So that is why we need to have a basic, a boilerplate, some sort of thing for an HTML file. So in VS Code, fortunately, you have a shortcut. So what you can do is you can press the exclamation mark, and if you press the tab key, automatically it generates a boilerplate for you. So I'll just give you a small introduction of this HTML. Basically, HTML is nothing but it contains a tag-based language. It has an opening tag and it has a closing tag. So obviously you have a HTML opening tag and you have a closing tag. Likewise, we have headers, just like a human. We have a head, we have a body, and we have a footer, like legs are a footer, right? So the header tag will contain everything as of the title. So right now, if you are seeing on YouTube, obviously many of you will be using on Google Chrome, it doesn't matter. If you watch the tab, if you watch the current tab of the live stream, you will see something like daily live lecture, introduction to JavaScript, correct? The title name would be present like that. So that is nothing but the title of the web page itself. And that can be written with the help of this particular tag, all right? So in order to make sure our script is working, we need to add a script tag here. And that is with the help of script. You open the tag, you close the tag, and then you mention the file name here. But obviously, we do not know where the file exists, right? So there is this pattern called, let me just write it here. There is this pattern called relative and absolute paths, right? So these are the two types of paths, right? Relative is something which will be calculated from the current folder which you are operating. So in our case, it would be day 2, right? So day 2 is our folder, and relative is something which will be calculated from the current folder we are operating. Whereas in absolute, it will take the very most home folder. That is, in Windows, you'll be having the C drive as the home folder, or even before that, you'll be having just a normal slash. In Macintoshes and Unix-based OS, you will have something called slash, and then you'll have a folder called users, and then you'll have your own user, and then you'll have desktop, and within desktop, since I am having my own folder in desktop, that is why I'm saying like that, you can have wherever you want. So it will have desktop, and then AttainU, because that is where I keep all my AttainU related folders. And then I have my JS Live folder, because as you can see, we have the JS Live folder, and then we have day 2 folder. So this long stream of folder organized output is called as absolute path. You start from the beginning of your operating system all the way up to your current file, right? But whereas in relative, you will be operating the parent, the immediate most parent of the file which you are containing. In our case, it's just day 2, right? Why am I saying all this? Why am I blabbering all this? Because in order to access your file, in order to access your sibling files, you need to start with a colon, and you need to have a forward slash. This makes sure that you're having an adjacent or a sibling file. You're trying to access a sibling file. All right. This is why I was trying to lay a foundation of difference between relative and absolute. I know I sounded a bit too fast, but hey, rewind is there to help us. So yeah, I'll just put app.js here, right? So now everything is perfect, and we have successfully wired it with our JavaScript application, all right? So to make sure this output is running, all you have to do is just right click, and you can go to reveal in Finder, or you will have an option called open in Explorer for Windows users, I'm saying. So just click that, and you will immediately brought to your Finder application, all right? I'll just drag it here and show you. It's located in my other monitor, so just give me 1 second. Yeah, so as you can see, we have our Finder here, and this is actually the Windows Explorer. You can definitely see that. So we have our index.html and we have our app.js. All you have to do is just press right click, right, and just open with Google Chrome, right? You can use your right click, and in Windows, you have an option called open with, just like how Mac does. So all you can do is just press open with and click Google Chrome, right? So I have the default browser as, I have selected my default browser as Google Chrome, but Internet Explorer is also fine. Hey, no one is hating Internet Explorer. I want to mention that. All right, so let me just click Google Chrome, and it will be brought up with this file. As you can see, this is what I was trying to say it as the absolute path. Could you see this? We have all the way from users my name, which is Sandeep Sharan, obviously, and desktop, my folders of AttainU and JS Live, and followed by day 2. So this is what absolute URL means. Let me just close this and let me just stick to the plan which we had previously, because I told you we need to have editor on one table, the notes on one table, and the output on another table. So let me just follow in that pattern. For that, I will just copy this URL. I'll close this. I'll go back to the place where I had my output and just copy this. Nothing is going to change, but hey, alignment is always required, right? So I'll just have it like this. Okay, everything is wired up. How do I know that I have wired this JavaScript, or how do I make sure that I wire this? Some output is required, right? Some some information or some confirmation of saying yes, we have wired it should be done, right? So there is output, or there is a method which will allow you to speak out or print something to the browser, right? So there are two types of outputs, right? One is blocking output, right? I'll just type it. And another one is non-blocking output. And what do you mean by blocking and non-blocking? It's like a technical term. Blocking is something, not as of WhatsApp block or Facebook block. I'm sure many of you have experienced blocking. Even I have experienced it. So yeah, let's come back to the topic. Blocking is something in computer technical wise, it will not move to the next process. Blocking is something which will make sure that until the current process is complete, it will not execute the next instruction, right? That is what blocking means. So say like you have 5 tasks, copy something, delete something, print something, and again, read something. So if your copying task is taking too long, it will wait until your copying process is complete. So that is what blocking means. Non-blocking, in other hand, is something that will not at all take care however time it is taking for a single process to complete. So one example could be like, let's say we have a multiplayer game. We have CSGO, we have Overwatch, we have Fortnite and everything. Do you have to wait until your other mate or your other teammate shoots the other guy? No, right? You can move wherever you want and he can move wherever he wants. It's not like you have to wait for that person to move and only then you can move. Could you get my point? So that is what non-blocking means. So that explains the difference between blocking and non-blocking. So in order to make sure we have a blocking output, there is this method called alert. Alert, which is self-explanatory, allows you to alert something on the web browser. All right. I hope many of you would have got this message whenever you're trying to close a website, or I can predict, because I'm a tech guy, I used to surf a lot on the internet. And during my childhood days, I used to believe that we can get free gems, free Clash of Clans gems. I hope everyone would have played Clash of Clans. I would be believing that there is a website that generates free Clash of Clans gems, because obviously gems are costly and that costs real money. So what I would do is I'll simply type on my Google Chrome browser and check free Clash of Clans gems like a nerd. So after that, there will be many scammy websites that will allow you to just have a survey sort of thing, or they will like extract your information and you're lost. You're nothing. You're finished. So in that areas, you will be getting a pop-up sort of thing. After you click your username or something, you'll be getting a pop-up of, and it will say some random things like generating, hacking the database. That's all bluffing. But the point which I'm trying to say is that you have a pop-up there, right? In order to bring that pop-up, you can use this alert method, all right? Alert method is something, but before that, I need to tell you what methods are, all right? That is literally kept on the 4th or 5th day, because functions is a vast topic and I need to take a lot of time to teach you that. But as of now, just consider that a method is nothing but a servant for you, right? It's like a servant and it is ready to fulfill your demands. Whenever you call that, you need to mention its name, all right? Followed by an open parenthesis and a close parenthesis, right? So that is called calling a method. It's like calling a free servant. You have tons of servants in programming languages. You can build your own servant. It's going to be fun, all right? This is an inbuilt servant. some guys have already built that server and it's ready to fulfill your demands, right? So as of now, I didn't teach you any data types of string or anything. Just bear with me. Let me just teach you what an output is, all right? So to pass in any string or whatever thing you want, you just open quotes and you close the double quotes, and you can have your single quotes as well. That's not an issue, but some sort of quotes is required. You can type whatever you want. Let's say, welcome to JS Live, not love, live. We are gonna have fun in learning JavaScript, right? So with that said, let me just keep it a bit below, or let me just drag it here so that it doesn't hinder your editor space. All right, so everything is done, everything is saved, and for your information, there is an option in VS Code to click for autosave, all right? You don't have to press save again and again, all right? So after you press this option of autosave, you can forget about saving your file. How cool does this sound? I always use that feature. So with that said, if I go to my output panel and if I reload it with the help of this reload thing, you could see I am getting a pop-up, all right? But did you see a difference, people? Before, this loading animation was not present. The moment it loaded, it just loaded and no animation was present. But now, unless and until I press OK, unless and until I finish executing this thing, it will wait, and it will wait. So that is why I was calling it as a blocking output. It blocks until we terminate its process. It will not go away. So that is why I was telling it as a blocking request, blocking output. All right. So let me just click OK. And as soon as I click OK, you could see the loading has stopped. So this is one way to output your data. All right. Another way to output your data is with the help of document.write. Again, you do not know what document.write is. Document is where you have the access to this entire white space. Consider this as your drawing area, and document is something you will have the ability to write whatever you want. Just think it as a huge white color slate, and you can write whatever you want with the help of the keyword called document. Again, we will be discussing all these things when we are covering during the DOM lectures, right? So as of now, it's with the help of document, and there is a method called write. Again, it's a servant which is ready to fulfill your demands. Just think it of like that. Whenever you're considering a method, as of now, just think it as a servant who is ready to fulfill your demands. So document.write can also be used, but this is going to be a non-blocking output because it does not require any sorts of confirmations or any sorts of inputs that needs to be pressed from the user. It will just run on its own, and it won't wait for anyone. So I'll just do the same here, right? I'll just use a comment here. And obviously you would have seen a different colored and italicized text, right? You can use comments here, right? First of all, I need to tell you what are comments, right? Comments are something which is for your own usage. It doesn't affect your code at all. Comments are used for better readability of the code, and it is done with the help of 2 forward slashes, which is located near to your shift key, if I'm not wrong, right shift key. It might be seeming like I'm showing my left hand, but this is my right hand, trust me. So I'll just comment it with the help of 2 forward slashes, and what I'll do is I'll just use the document.write method and followed by again whatever text you want to write, and you can do it with the help of a single quote or a double quote, right? So what I'll do is I'll just type it as again, here comes the fun, right? Let me save it, but obviously since I'm using autosave, I don't want to save it, but I want to tell you people, otherwise you will be puzzled of why it is not working, right? So let me just reload it, and now could you see something unique happening here? You could see that something is getting printed here, right? Because this is now a non-blocking output. No matter how much times I reload, could you see any animation here? No, right? Because it didn't wait for any input that needs to be processed, any confirmation. So clear till here? I'll take this as a break and I'll just view the comments now. All right. Okay. Everyone's screen is blurred, or is it happening to me only? I think it's because of the bitrate. I'm not sure about that. Let me just see it. All right. It says my connection is good, my live is good, but not sure what is happening on the live thing. Let me see. Okay. I guess everything is going good. The connection is actually good. It's showing me excellent connection. I'm not sure what happened. Let me see. All right, great. So let me just continue. So to have a non-blocking output, you use your document.write, all right? And with the help of it, you will have a non-blocking output. We have seen both blocking as well as non-blocking output. Now let's start looking onto how to get input, right? How to get, but before that, let me just have an introduction to variables, right? But for that, let us start our drawing thing. Let me just zoom somewhere and start my drawing session. Variables. This is the fundamental for any programming language, people, be it C, be it C++, be it Java, be it JavaScript, any language. This is very, very fundamental. So one second. How do you get the absolute path of index.html? Actually, that is done with the help of just going to your Explorer, just right click it. And if you open with your Google Chrome will automatically find your absolute location, right? So you don't have to worry about that. More upon whenever we are discussing about server-side programming and everything. Again, 1 hour is not enough to complete all the detailed features, right? So yeah. So as I was saying, variables is a crucial feature which is present on every single programming language, and they are not that tough to understand. They are simply a bucket, right? Consider a bucket which has its different sizes, right? It's like a container which holds some data. Variables are something which hold some data. That's it, right? So think it of as a bucket, right? A bucket can be empty, right? A bucket can be filled, a bucket can be half filled, but there is no strategy called half filled in programming. Either it's filled or it's not filled, all right? So consider this as a bucket. You create a variable in JavaScript with the help of the var keyword, right? Var keyword is used to create a variable. And this is the syntax of creating a variable. You use the var keyword, right? Followed by the variable name, you can keep whatever you want. In our case, let's put it as Sandeep, right? And then I will equalize it, or I don't want to equalize it. So this is where things start to get tricky. So please understand, start to listen this thing. So what will happen is that you will use your var keyword, all right? You will have your name set to anything. It's your wish. Either you can directly set its value here. That is, whenever you are using this statement, you're creating a bucket, all right? You're creating a bucket, right? So whenever you are equalizing to something, you are filling some data in that bucket. So technically, it is called as, this particular portion is called as declaration, right? Declaration. And this particular process or thing is called as initialization, right? I'm just telling the technical formats, but this is what it is. So you create a bucket which is automatically going to be empty. You fill in some data with that bucket, right? That's going to be initializing it. You declare a variable with the help of just var, and you name whatever variable you want, and then you initialize it with the help of a equal to sign, all right? Speaking of initialization, I need to discuss more about data types, right? Because those are all the required things that can be, because there are some rules. You cannot put anything on a bucket. There are some rules in a programming language where only certain types of objects or certain types of things can be only put in a bucket. The bucket is so specific. The bucket has rules. Sorry for that. So you need to have some data which is accepted by the programming community of JavaScript, right? So those acceptable rules, or which is predefined way before 20 years ago, are called as data types, right? Data types, right? Data types, again, they are nothing but just some set of rules that can be only used or allowed to put that into a bucket. You cannot put anything inside there. You are only allowed to have some set of data. So what are the types of data? We'll be discussing it line by line. All right. For that, let me just create a new page by just going. So the first data type we are going to discuss is all about strings, or in other words, set of letters, right? We all know what is letters, right? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Why the string name has come is that in our real life, a string is what? A sort of a never-ending thread. But typically, it will end, but it's a very long thread, right? Each part is like a small cotton which is tied up on another cotton, and which is tied up on another cotton piece, and it goes on, right? It's like a twine like of thing. It's like a DNA. It is wound like this, correct? So it goes on and on and on and on and on. Likewise, in programming as well, this each twine, this each thing is considered as a letter, right? So let's say we have apple, right? So this part is called A, this part is called P, this part is called P, this part is called L, and this part is called E. So when you combine these letters, it forms a word, right? That is why it is considered as a string. It is a never-ending thing. It doesn't break in between, and it goes in a linear-most fashion, right? So that is why it's called as a string. So that is a flashback to the formation of string, actually. So you can create a string with the help of either single quotes and double quotes. Both are allowed in JavaScript. Why this pattern was present is because back in C and C++, you are only allowed to create one letter data type, which is called as character. Right? Characters can be only typed in single letter, right? Single quotes or single letter, single quotes, whereas a line of characters or a set of characters can be demonstrated only with the help of double quotes. But since ages have passed and all those memory management limitations have been lifted off, you can now use whatever quotes you want. You can use a single quote or you can use a double quote. All right. So how do you create a string? Well, it's easy. You create a keyword of var, right? You name your variable whatever you want. So let's say we have fruit, right? It'll create a new fruit. You equalize it with the help of equal to symbol, and then you start it with the quotation symbol, and you end it with the string, that is a set of letters, and you close that quotation. That is all. This is how a string is going to be created. So let us code it and let us see what happens. Okay. So I'm going to create a new variable. So with the help of creating new variables. And that is done with the help of, as I just said, we create with the help of var. We have a name here, and that is done with the help of fruit. Let me just have it as fruit. You equalize it, and you open a quote, you close the quote, and you type whatever you want, right? So now let me put it as apple, right? Now, how do I print it? As I just said, we can use document.write, all right? So let me just put document.write. And let me inject this variable inside here as fruit. So what happened is here is technically whatever value it's holding on this bucket will be revealed whenever you're passing that variable onto a method. That is it. What I'm trying to say is that this servant will understand the bucket's value. As I just told before, servants are nothing but methods who are ready to fulfill your demands. So this variable is like a bucket, and it has a value now, and this value is something which as apple, which is a string, right? So this string is going to be present in fruit, and fruit's value will be printed if you are putting this inside document.write. So now let me go here, and if I reload it once again, you could see again here comes the fun, and you don't have any spaces here. So to avoid the confusion, let me just comment it. And if I reload it, you can see apple is getting printed. So first step is done. We have learned how to create a string data type, all right, or a string based variable. This is just one out of 4 different variables, right? So the next data type is something called as integer, right? So integer, right? So with that, 1 second. All right, great. So integers are something which has numbers. Strings are something which has letters. Integers are numbers. That's it. So integers are something which has 1, 2, 3. You can have decimals as well. You can have your, if you visit some, how do I put it? I guess we don't have paise in our country. If you visit America or something, you can pretty much see all those cents, right? A Coke bottle will cost you around $1.99 or $2.59. They have still these cents, right? So you can use those to your advantage. You can even create your own billing system and pass in the value of whatever you want. So decimals are also allowed in integers. You can have 5.11. You can have the pi as well, 3.14. Right? So these are all allowed in integers. So integers are something which consists of both numbers as well as decimals. Right? So with that said, let me just view the comments and let me just make it interactive. Right? Did anyone else vote for this? Come on, man, your video quality is that so? Let me just check it here. And let me just make it interactive. Oh yeah, it sucks a lot. I think it's due to the post-processing. Yeah, I think it's due to yesterday we didn't have this issue, right? Yeah, it sucks. I look a lot uglier than yesterday. I don't want to comment about it. Is this program suitable for only experience or suitable for fresher who doesn't have any programming? Our job is to convert anyone. If you have the intention to learn, then we can convert you into a software. In integer, we can put negative values. Yeah, you can put negative values as well. You can have negative decimals. You can have negative numbers. You can have, positive numbers. All integers can be allowed. So to create a new integer variable, all you have to do is just create var, right? And you have your own integer that is with the help of, let's say we have prime number, right? Or let's say just odd number. Odd, let me keep it as odd. Let me equalize it and let me keep the odd number in the variable. And how do I do it? It's pretty easy. All you have to do is just type your number 1. That's it. This is how you create your variable of a numbered type. All right. So this is number 2. Yeah, I think that is pretty much it for integers. One particular data type I forgot to tell you is that you can also have a data type called Booleans, right? To learn more about Booleans, we need to learn about circuit logic and digital computers and everything. Again, since we have a time constraint, I cannot drag to those topics, but I'll give you a small introduction. Computers eventually do not understand English, right? They understand only machine code. And machine code is something which consists of just zeros and ones, right? They have just zeros and ones, which is present inside computers. They do not understand human language. They do not understand anything. That is why we have something called as compiler, right? This compiler will take care of converting our own programming language, which is understandable by humans, into a language which is understandable only by computers. Right? Don't ask me why. They have invented in that manner. From the early stages, they have created in such that you can only understand binary code. The computers can only understand binary code, right? So zeros and ones are the primary language of a machine code, right? So 0 is considered something as false, right? A falsy value. And 1 is considered as a truthy value. It's like a conditional based thing. Let's say if you are going to a bank, right? Let's say you are debiting some 5,000 and let's say you are having a bank balance of exactly 4,000. If your balance is greater than the bank balance itself, that if you are trying to debit the amount which is greater than your bank balance, obviously it won't be allowed. Why? Because your balance is lesser than your intended amount. So these are the areas where computers start to think, and we will inject those thinking logics only with the help of these booleans. 0 is something which is considered as a falsy value, and 1 is something which is considered as a truthy value, right? So that is what booleans are all about. Well, in JavaScript, we can create a bool value with the help of false, right, for 0 and true for 1, right? Let me just check the comments here. All right. Okay, I guess we are okay. I'm not sure why the engagement is low there. I guess that's pretty much because of my video. I can pretty much come to a conclusion, but I'm not sure how do I improve it. Yesterday was super fine, but I'm not sure why today is not fine. All right, no issues. Not all days are good. So we have to just accept it. So let me come back to the topic. Truthy values are something which is considered as ones, falsy values which are considered as zeros. All right. So to create a Boolean variable, all you have to do is just do the same thing of var followed by the variable name. Just say we have has ice cream. I do not have ice cream at my home, so I'll just keep it as has ice cream. Do I have a ice cream? No, I do not. So how do I express my negative answer? With the help of false. To have a positive answer, you mention it with the help of true, and to have a negative answer, you mention it with the help of false, right? So I'll just initialize it, and I'll mention it as false, right? So this is what the Boolean values are all about. I'll just go and code it in my Visual Studio Code, and I'll say it as var as ice cream is equal to false. Right. These are all the reserved keywords in JavaScript. You have strings, you have numbers, you have Boolean values, you have some more values. You have a data type called null, and you have a data type called undefined. So let us start learning that. I guess we can keep arrays as a separate topic because I don't think it will be comfortable enough to understand what arrays are actually. So with that said, I have to yet teach you what inputs are, right? So let me just tell you what input is all about. So this is the right time to introduce you how to get input. It's like getting an input from the user and then printing it back to the computer, all right? I told you before, printing is something which is putting the output towards the user, and scanning the input, getting an input is something you get from the user, right? Printing, let me just write here so that you will avoid the confusion. So we have seen already what is printing, right? Printing is something you send data, right? You send data to browser, right? That is this thing, right? This one. So scanning, or in other words, getting, is something we receive data, right? We receive data from browser. Got it? So this is what printing and scanning is all about. You send data and you get back the data, right? So yes, let us start receiving some data. We have already learned how to print data, and with the help of alert, which is a blocking output, and document.write, which is a non-blocking output. So how do we get data from users? Well, that is done with the help of, I'll have input, that is done with the help of window.prompt, right? Instead of just window.prompt, let's just say it as prompt. So prompt is something which allows you to get data from the user, right? So what I will do is I will get this message, all right, with the help of a message which is passed from the user. I'll get this message, and to have a question sort of thing, you will have a question opened in a string format. So let me just open and close the quotations, and let me start writing the question. What can we ask? What is the weather today? What is the weather today? All right. So we have done the input, but we obviously need to get the data, right? We have got the input, something will be written, but how do we get the data? That is something which is not available, right? So obviously this returns a string based data, just like Apple, right? This particular servant will give you back a string based data, that is a set of characters. Whatever the user types back, you will get it as a string of characters. So how can we save it? Well, that is pretty easy. All you have to do is just create a new variable of answer and initialize it with this particular servant. As I just told you, this servant will give you a string based data. Right? This prompt will give you a string based answer, whatever the user types in. String based answer. And all you can do is you can just store this string based answer to your variable. As I just told you, how do we create a variable? All you have to do is create with help of var keyword and followed by the keyword name, which is in our case, it's answer. And we equalize it. So whatever data we are getting from the user will be automatically saved inside this variable. Now that we have stored this answer in this variable, it's time for us to print that answer, right? Because obviously we do not know what answer did we get unless and until we know it by printing it. So how can we do that? That is also pretty easy. All you have to do is just have it as alert. Let me just go to the blocking methodology. Let me have it as a cool pop-up like of thing. So what I'll do is I'll put this answer thing here. So this servant, this particular alert servant requires some sort of input, and that is exactly what we have done here, right? So we are gonna pass this answer, which is gonna contain the answer which the user has typed in, and it will automatically print it here, right? So yeah, that is pretty much about it. Let me just save it, all right? If I press reload here, you could see I'm having a question sort of thing. This is called as input, all right? So yeah, you have this, what is the weather today? And all I'm gonna do is just press, what can I press? What is the weather today? Too humid, right? I'll go press too humid and I'll press okay, right? And you can see I'm having an answer called too humid. Unless and until I press okay, as I just told you, it's a blocking output. This is all about it. So we have this, and this apple is something which we had before, right? So let me just comment it and let me reload it once again. And you can see what is the weather today. I'll say it is too cold and shivering, right? I'll put a full stop and I press OK. You can see too cold and shivering is getting printed. So this is all about getting the input and printing the input, people, all right? So now that you have learned how to get and print input, I think that is it for this particular topic. Now let's move on listening about more data types which is present in JavaScript. I have just told you we have a data type called null and we have a data type called undefined. This is a pretty much tricky question which all candidates used to fail on their interviews. There is a special question which is allotted particularly on this topic. What is the difference between null and undefined? Both sound similar to empty, because if you just have a deep thinking with yourself, null is something which leads to nullifying, or in other words, zero, or in other words, empty. Undefined also means emptiness. It sounds some sort of empty. So what exactly does is that undefined will make sure that the variable is created, whereas null will make sure that the variable is not created. That is the only difference between it. Let me just tell it in a different way, and let me just tell in a clearer fashion. For that, I need to use my magic pen. So let me just zoom out. And let me just zoom in somewhere. And before that, let me just check the comments as I mean to say it's before as well as programming background. This is optional in JS. Is this course useful for the graduate language? Yes, it does. We will be starting all the way from HTML, as this is like some sort of a crash course sort of thing in JavaScript. Obviously, this is not the entire course. This will be a crash course where you'll be learning all the required things which will make you a JavaScript developer. At the end, we'll be building a sort of a budget tracker where you can track your profit loss. We'll be building a small project. I guess I'll be making it as a 2-hour session. I hope so. After the session, for more knowledge, you mail me at right. Okay, great. So let me just continue. What I was trying to say is that there are 2 more data types, which is undefined and null, right? So what undefined is, as I just told you, or obviously we'll be creating a variable, and that is going to be a bucket, right? So the difference between undefined, and obviously this is only specific to JavaScript, this is not specific to all programming languages. So kindly take a note of it. So undefined is something where you make sure that the bucket is created, right? The bucket is created, but it doesn't hold any value. So it's like an empty bucket, right? So it has a memory, all right? It has the location where this bucket is created. Speaking of location, you guys are familiar with RAM, right? Random access memory. Random access memory, right? Just give me 1 second. Yeah, you have a random access memory, right? So this particular is a stick sort of thing, right? Every computer does have a small rectangular chip sort of thing, which is called as random access memory. It allows you to store information and print information whenever it is necessary. So let us take this for an example. You shut down your computer, and when you restart your computer, where the applications which you are having before shutdown will be still open, just think of it. You create a paint, all right? You open the paint application, you draw something, and you forget to save it, right? You shut down your computer. When you restart your computer, would that painting be still there on your computer, considering that you didn't save it? It won't be, right? That's because some crucial data will be stored on this particular stick called random access memory. So what it does is, it will store for a finite amount of time, and it will lose its data once the computer is shut off, right? So the variables which we are creating in any programming language will be stored inside this particular random access memory. It will not be stored inside your hard disk. Hard disk is something which will remember even after you shut down your computer. Otherwise, we cannot even use our computers, right? If everything is forget, if it's like an amnesia patient, why would we use our computer? It won't make any sense, right? So that is what I was trying to say. So all of your variables, all of your data, every single program will be having on your random access memory. Every single application, your games, your applications, even YouTube's data, everything will be located on your RAM. So what I was trying to, why I was saying this foundation is that whenever you are mentioning the value as undefined, your bucket will be created, right? A separate space will be allocated inside RAM for your variable, right? But it will not hold any value. It's like an empty bucket. Got it? Whereas if you are having it as null, right, it has a value, but it does not have any meaning to it. I know it sounds confusing. Let me just demonstrate in a pictorial manner. In undefined, it is literally empty, right? It is literally empty. But in null, right? In null, you have something, but it doesn't hold any meaning to it. It is initialized to some value, just like how we are initializing a string, right? or a number of 1 to 3, it is also a sort of value. It also allocates a memory to it and holds a value. This bucket will be holding some sort of garbage value, but that will not be meaningful. That bucket will not hold any meaningful data unless we manipulate it to string or a number. So that is the crucial difference between undefined and null. In undefined, you deliberately say that a new bucket will be created, but it will not hold any value. Only a bucket will be created. But whereas in null, it will fill up that space, but with a meaningless value. You cannot identify what that value is. It's just garbage. So that is the difference between var, undefined and null. You will get these ideas when you are creating applications as you gain experience. You will know when to have an undefined value and you will know when to have a null value. So basically, you will say null values whenever you want to have some sort of state to an application. So let's say we have a game to it, all right? If we, everyone would have played the good old bounce in Nokia, right? Where we control a ball and it has to be passing along its rings or something, right? So in that game, let us consider that. So before a ball passes onto a ring or an objective, the current value of score will be what? 0, obviously, right? Because when you're starting the game, the score will be what? Obviously 0. So that is considered as a null value. It doesn't hold any meaning to it. Unless you pass any ring to it, it obviously will not hold any value. So that is a pretty much use case for having a null value. Undefined is something where you create a variable and wait for that to hold a value. It's like you announce something is going to happen. It's like a horoscope sort of thing. You predict something and you are going to wait for something that is going to happen to that variable, and then you initialize it. So I know it sounds pretty confusing, but it's just a concept which is present in all the applications in our computer. So the more we code, the more you will understand. Since this is the very first day of JavaScript, I can highly expect you guys to not understand everything. It's completely normal. You don't have to panic about it. So yeah, that is pretty much about it for today's lecture. And let me just scroll on the comments. Please share some slides after this session for more knowledge about it. Yeah, we do have some slides, but only if you enroll in our platform, you'll have access to all these slides. But yeah, you have YouTube. Right? YouTube is the biggest slide sharing. You can just type whatever we had for today. You can type var. You can just type in Google and check for JavaScript variables. I'm sorry, I am not a native speaker of Telugu, so I do not understand what your questions are, unfortunately. It's not a full course, it's a 10-day demo. Yes, exactly, Gopal. Yes, you enrolled awesome. Thank you so much. So that is about it for today, actually. I can pretty much see our views have tremendously gone down at a point where my face was super ugly. I really do not know what happened today. I am using the same computer as of yesterday. I'm not sure what happened for today. Yeah, that's pretty much it. You can ask your doubts and we'll have like a 5-minute session for answering your doubts and we'll call it a day for today. Tomorrow, it's going to be all about, how do I put it? Objects and arrays. It's going to be pretty tough to get your heads wrapped on, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. To have it even more interactive, I'll just give you some things to learn for today. Just go to any website and just refer what variables are actually. At a fundamental base, I'm saying, not respective to JavaScript, a fundamental base. You can refer variables and you can learn what variables are, because shifting this mindset from a normal thinking to a computerized thinking takes a while. I have even experienced that and it's completely acceptable. So to overcome that, all you can do is just start learning all the computer concepts, just what is a variable, what is random access memory, how does memory work. Those are not tough things to grasp, but since we are new to it, we kind of feel a bit insecure towards it. That is what I can feel, because that is what other programming languages. So please explain why we do not use semicolon in JS. Actually, it is sort of a, what to say, choice. JavaScript has given that privilege. Before days when we weren't having better memory management techniques, in C and C++, we were forced to end with a semicolon because computers were not understanding where a certain program was executing and where it was ending. So to terminate each instruction, we were forced to use the semicolon because computer program implementators were using that sort of strategy to make sure that, okay, this is the first line, this is the second line, this is the third line. But as computers started become intelligent enough, you don't have to use the semicolons anymore. It just became intelligent enough to recognize what each instructions are. So again, it's just a matter of choice. If you were a developer 20 years ago, your hands would have automatically binded to the semicolon key. You cannot do anything about it. So, the people will be using it until today. But any newer programmers who learn Python or Ruby or JavaScript or Golang, these languages are pretty newborn, so they didn't require that much of a constraint sort of thing. That is why it's just a choice. You still can debate for hours between people to have a semicolon or to not to have a semicolon. Yeah. Really, you're awesome. Thank you so much. It means a lot. You can use the developer JS ignoring person. Yeah, correct. Chandan is there. He's my proud student, actually, one of my students. Why won't you try to open a YouTube channel like Brad? Am I that awesome? I don't think so. With this potato quality, how do you expect me to create a video channel like Brad? Brad has a bigger funding for microphones and cameras, and obviously I do not have interest in cinematography and stuff, so that is why. If you wish, you can use. I will understand. Thank you for helping me, Chandan. Possibly, I'll make you as a moderator so that you can help our fellow newborns for AttainU. Will they add some fake experience in resume for career gap students, or will they consider as freshers? I think they will consider us freshers because you're entering a newer industry, right? I don't think, because I'm not eligible to say that. The higher authorities will. Higher authorities of AttainU will help you. Please visit AttainU, or you can contact any of our higher authorities and they'll be glad to help you out. We are there to help you, Padma. Don't worry. What is the future of software industry after Corona? Software isn't going anywhere. You could very well see that many of the startups were converting themselves into work from home. You can clearly see that that hasn't been affected. To be very honest with you, there is a website tracker for coronavirus. You can see the persons who are affected, the countries which has the largest diagnostics of Corona. So how did that happen? Only with the help of software, right? The diagnostic results were able to reach that much of a bigger audience only because of software. So just have a rethinking with yourself that is software really going to go after Corona or not? It is like emergency situation right now. Many software developers are required right now. That's the harsh reality. That's the frank truth. Thank you, sir, for the answer. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Is this course really tough? Kindly tell me about your previous experience. To be honest, it's not tough, but obviously whenever we are learning to drive a bicycle or a car, we need some coordination, right? We need to learn some coordination. Our hands should start to learn, and everything needs to be some sort of prerequisites, right? As things go consistently, we'll start getting the hang of it. Yeah. I don't know why I'm stammering, but please give us small tasks so as we can focus on this topic. Yeah, sure. I just gave you a topic for today. Just go and visit what are variables, because there is nothing much to give you an exercise today. Try to create variables. Try to install VS Code, all right? Try to install the JavaScript. Oh, you don't have to install it. Dummy, sorry. Create an index.html. Use what I've just said. You can use this video as what can I say? You can use this video as like a guideline. All right. Try to create variables. Try to learn about what RAM is. Yeah. Feel free to just ask me for tomorrow. We'll have like a doubt session and yeah. One small request, yeah, that is learn what kind of project you will cover, how it will be useful for experienced people. Actually, since this is a 10-day course, I cannot concentrate much of an advanced topic, but however, this course will be useful for those who are entering as a newbies. This is only concentrated for newbies. This is not a concentrated for experienced because obviously experienced people would have been employed already, right? So our job for this 10-day course is to just make sure that you are understanding how interactivity works in websites. See, if you click something, something should happen, right? So we're going to learn how that happens slowly by slowly. I think with this week, we are going to learn most of the basics that will help us ramp up towards the next week. But however, 10 days is critically not at all enough to become a master. It's like waiting for just 10 days to get a black belt in Kung Fu. That is absolutely not possible, right? So yeah, that would be the best example. Really, but will companies accept career gaps? Honestly, if you are well worthy enough in your skill or in your industry means, every industry will welcome you as a fresher. So you don't have to worry about career gaps or something because obviously you're learning something and you're going to prove something with the help of some way around 3 to 4 projects that will elevate your profile to a greater extent. So there won't be much of worrying about your career gap actually. All right, we'll be closing it in 2 more minutes, right? It's getting late. That's this way. Web development versus AI versus blockchain, which is better scope in future. As of now, blockchain is a baby, AI is a baby. Web development is like a bridge. I'll be very honest with you. It's like a pathway to attain these both things because blockchain and software development are both tightly coupled with each other, and AI cannot be done without any user interfaces. Obviously, you need some sort of user interface to showcase your artificial intelligence things, right? So you need some sort of a visual presentation layer. So web development, it's like sort of siblings. You cannot compare, to be very honest. If you ask me web versus app development, that can be easily comparable. Yeah. This still matters a lot more than as for the total. How many masterclasses in JavaScript course? As of now, we have planned for only one masterclass, which is for 10 days. JS supports OOPs or not? Yes, it does support, but not completely. That's a complete debate, actually. Node.js versus Go programming, which is best to learn and to get job? First of all, comparing programming languages is, I think, pretty much a marketing strategy because in whichever language you can code, that is enough. But considering the job demands and the market and everything, I think as of now, JavaScript is good enough. Golang is something which is operated in a niche corporate regions because obviously it's created by Google, it's created by a private company. So obviously it's not that much, spreaded enough. Whereas JavaScript is the spinal cord for every single web browser. So I think betting on a language which is available on a huge scale is pretty much a good bet, I think. Any courses for experienced people? I'm not sure of courses for experienced people. It's like a training wheels. Courses are like training wheels. You should do on your own to get those training wheels to move, to be very honest. Doing is something which is highly needed in programming, actually. Who asked me? Wipe up. So because how much ever you can learn, you will feel that you have understood everything. But unless and until you type something on your keyboard, then only you will start to know what happened. So yeah. JavaScript is an HTML language to write object. It's a case of intelligence to prototyping as well as propagating methods. Thank you, Chandan. All right, I think that is it for today. Thank you so much for joining. I will just research myself on why this crappy camera thing has affected the stream. I'm so upset with my face. So yeah, I'll just do a research on why this happened, right? Thank you so much for joining, and it means a lot. Do support the stream, and you will also gain a lot of value out of it. If you felt that you are not in the stream, feel free to say to your friends and watch the recordings, all right? Yeah, let's make this lockdown a benefitable one. That is what my concern is. We don't want to just grow up our tummies and just drink snacks and Coca-Cola. We should make this lockdown some sort of useful. That is what my benefit is and concern is, whatever. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Have a nice lunch. And yeah, bye-bye.